what you are part of and I am part of right now, this hidden wealth strategy, the hidden wealth system, is about alerting other Americans to an alternative, a self-sufficient alternative that is reliable, but that belongs to us, and that we're not going to be dependent on the government or the banks or anyone else.
Wow, that is fantastic. How come, I wonder why
How come nobody told me about this before? Yeah.
And so I had some knowledge of this plan, or this program, and I was traveling across the state. For some reason, I was listening to the radio when they were talking about it, and I went, okay, this sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't click yet. I went, this sounds interesting. And so when I got back home, I made the call, and then Ron called, and then as he's explaining it to me, that's when it clicked, and I went, oh,
I've heard of this before.
This works.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's logical. And I'm kind of a Star Trek nut, and so
so your Spock ears went into it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's okay. This makes sense. And so now it was like, okay, I bought into it. I know it has to work. So now okay, believe me, dear. One more time, believe me.
Trust me.
Well, yeah.
Trust me, dear.
Give me an example of what he said that resonated with you, that really said, wow, that makes sense, or that's what I've been looking for.
Well, the fact that there is a mechanism that's in place where we can invest our money or save our money and grow our money, and it's also, we have, as long as you used it the right system, it's protected, and you don't have to worry about the taxes. That was the big issue.
Tax is a big issue, isn't it?
Tax is a very big issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
You feel that way too, Lois?
Well, you're right. At first I was like, oh, it's one of those too good to be true.
Yeah, yeah.
Because anytime you hear something great, you
Yeah.
think, well, what's the catch?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Ron Joseph. I'm one of the Wealth Architects. On behalf of our whole team, we want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for taking some time to invest in your future. You heard Paul and Lois, and one of the things that Lois said was, this sounds too good to be true. And when I first learned about it, I thought the same thing. A lot of our team that became their own first clients thought the same thing. You guys might even be thinking the very same thing. This sounds too good to be true. I guess if we were talking about champagne wishes and caviar dreams, right, I'd probably go along with it. But what you're going to learn today, or continue for some people that are already clients, continue to learn today, is that this has been in place for a very long time. Been in place for a very long time. And I'm going to ask you to do one thing for me. I'm going to ask you to suspend all your disbeliefs. Suspend anything you've previously learned about retirement savings. Put it on the back burner and just sit there with an open mind. Sit there with an open mind with the ability to learn something new. And then, after you've had good information, properly educated, then you can make the decision. Before we start this morning, just a couple housekeeping things. Ask questions anytime you're going along. Chuck will probably remind you that as well. Ask questions anytime you're going along. Don't leave here without having your questions answered. We got a lot of information today, so no bathroom breaks. Come on, no bathroom breaks. No, I'm kidding. If you have to use the bathroom, Chuck, you're in for a treat today, buddy. If you have to use the bathroom, to the door, right across the hallway is the bathroom. Feel free to use it anytime. So suspend all your disbeliefs. Our speaker this morning, Chuck Oliver. I can't ever say enough about what he's been in my life. He's been a mentor to me more than I could ever say thank you enough to him for that. Best-selling author. And I think one of the things you're going to learn, or maybe you've already learned, if you've already had the opportunity to sit down with Chuck or any of us, the cool thing about what we do is this is it. This is the only thing we do. Nobody does more of this in the whole country than this team of people that you're going to meet today. Nobody. This is all we do. And when you sit down with Chuck or you hear Chuck up here talking, I'm telling you, when you walk out of here, one of the things you're going to walk out of here with is his passion to teach and impart education and wisdom to people. That's what he's passionate about. That's what he's passionate about as a leader on our team. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you a warm welcome to Mr. Chuck Oliver.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Other housekeeping rules as we'll get going here, especially for those joining us online. So we're streaming this live, which is kind of exciting, too. So that's always fun to kind of throw at your team last minute to say, hey, any chance we could just throw this up on the internet for the whole world to tune in live? And we found a way to make it happen. So you have a packet of information, and I'm going to go really, really fast today, not intentionally, but because we've got a lot of ground to cover. And to get that in 6 hours, we don't want it to stretch to 8. Just kidding. That's an attention grabber, and evidently it worked for a few people. Somebody had like one of those hot energy shot things, so if you didn't respond to that, you may want to start passing the hot energy shot things around, because we gave you till 10, so we figured everybody would be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go. Here's what we'd like to ask from you. We want to provide an insight-based experience for you today, and as a result of that, it's been proven that the brain and the thumb are connected by about 35% of power. So the idea of writing down what you're learning will help you retain about 60% more of what you're taking in. And when you can only take in so many words per second, especially as you're not only saying them, but obviously as you're receiving them. So we've given you a note section that's in your little folder there, and we've provided you with pins. And it's going to be tough to take questions as we go, but what I'd like for you to do is write your questions down as you have these insights, and as a result of that, we'll make sure that any of our authorized wealth architects are happy to answer those questions as we conclude today, and that would be very helpful, because we want your questions. We don't want anyone here leaving without their questions answered. We had a great turnout Thursday, and we had a lot of really, really good questions. The other thing that would be really helpful, at the top of, you have a form that also has an area of where your top insights are from what you're taking in today. And so what I'd like to do is go ahead and take that out, but I ask one favor as we get going here, just one main favor I'd ask of you. We're really trying to understand, did you hear this from radio? And if it was radio, just put an R at the top of this form that we're going to ask you to turn in when you're done today. If it was TV, write a T. Now, by the way, I forgot my favorite quote by Confucius. Tell me and I may remember. Show me, involve me. Okay? Tell me and I may forget. Show me and I may remember. Involve me and I will understand. So I'm already starting to involve you, and I can already see deer in headlights. So this is a little bit problematic for me because we haven't even really gotten into the content yet. So think of it as this. Radio is an R. Okay? TV is a T. And email or internet, let's just say email is an E. If you'll just put that at the top of your form, that would be great, instead of asking you at the end of this to try to do that and remember everything else on top of the insights that you're having. So radio R, TV T, email E, that would be very helpful to our team so we understand how you learned about us. Okay? So, let's be honest. How many of you coming in here came here with the understanding that this is likely to be something that you could prove is too good to be true? Okay, we have one honest person in the group. That's good. That's a good way to start. We're going to get into this, and you guys have what's called the predictability game in your folder, and I'm going to ask you to pull that out. I know one of these wacky people that's going to start educating you by asking you to play a game, but this game has a purpose. In fact, everything we have in the Hidden Wealth system has a purpose. So before we get into this game, any ideas on this box? Because this is where I really want to challenge you. This box right here. You've heard the saying, sometimes people don't think outside of the box. Well, inside the box, we have 401k, we have IRA, we've all heard of an IRA, and a Roth IRA. Right? Now, do those things, when we're only looking inside the box, provide education on safety, protection, growth, and security? Hasn't been the case. You're going to learn today that Time Magazine says it's time to do away with the 401k. It's a financial flop, right? It's a reckless repository, right? That was right out of Time Magazine. And it's interesting, we find, which kudos to you, to come out today and get educated. What you're going to get educated on, Ray, is thinking outside of the box. Because the irony of what I write about in my books is that there's always been a set of instructions on the outside of the box, but if you never look outside the box, you're never going to learn about what you're going to learn about today, which not only are the 4 keys to a secure retirement, but the fact that it's built inside of what's called a retirement insurance contract. So let's play a game and start putting these pieces to the puzzle together for you. So if you came here with a significant other or a spouse, okay, which likely if it's your spouse, it should be your significant other. Well, it's a rough crowd. I'd like for everybody to participate, if you would, please. So instead of where, one person's the typical scribe or what have you, everybody please participate, and let's go through this. Pick any number between 1 and 10. Now double that number. Add 8 to that number. Divide your number by 2. Subtract that number that you started with from your number. Is everybody okay? We really thought that this would be a much livelier group than Thursday night. And thus far, it's questionable. Is everybody good? Does anybody need the instructions repeated? If so, they're right in front of you. We have a slower class that starts at 2 this afternoon. All right, now what I'd like for you to do is take the resulting number, okay? So if your number was 1, it would be A, 2B, 3C. You get it, right? And what I'd like for you to do now is pick a European country that starts with your letter. Okay? So your number translates into a letter, 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E. You got that? Now pick a European country that starts with your letter. And then here's what I'd like for you to do. It's going to get a little more involved. I want to see if Colleen gets this right. Take the next letter, okay? So the second letter, okay, of your European country, I'd like for you to choose a typical zoo animal that starts with the second letter of your country. We got people actually helping other people, giving answers out loud. I like this. This is a good contributory group here. And then finally, what I'd like for you to do is pick the logical color associated with your chosen zoo animal. Everybody done? Don't help her. Don't help her. All right, Denmark elephant gray. Who had that? Oh, how shocking, how predictable. It's hence the name of our exercise, the predictability game. Now, here's the lesson to the predictability game. The lesson to the predictability game, well, there's many lessons from the predictability game, but here would be the first one. It's extraordinarily predictable that you came here with a lot of apprehension. True? You came here likely second-guessing whether, I committed, who knows, maybe they had a food count thing, and probably should be the respectful thing, I'll show up. Thank you for showing up, because half the people didn't. How predictable. Half the people didn't on Thursday either. So thank you for showing up, right? Half the battle's showing up. That's predictable. It's also predictable that when you just heard me lift the box, show you the instructions on the outside of how our clients have safely more than tripled their money since 2000 without market risk and without taxation, that when you hear the word insurance, it's very predictable that you already have applied a negative context to this concept and we haven't even got into the content. True? Just be honest. Right? Here's the other predictability. The IRS, which I'm going to teach you today, has you and I as predictable as that exercise, which everybody should have ended up with the number 4. I gave it away by saying European country, except for Colleen. And then, obviously, zoo animal with an E. I think most people would think of elephant. And I guess there are some albino elephants, but most elephants I've ever witnessed in my lifetime are gray. IRA, 401k, gray elephant, all of them. That predictable. So we're going to get right into this and teach you how to stop being the perfect taxpayer to the IRS because it's hunting season, there's no underbrush, and the reality is the world is changing very, very quickly. This is the new dollar bill in circulation. And it's actually a little smaller than that since our national debt just is almost to 17 trillion. If you can imagine, I was just getting an update on that yesterday. We're at 16.8 trillion and something. How do you feel about where we're headed? Horrible, right? Dismal. Scary for some people. Some of the feedback Thursday, fearful, frustrating, aggravating, uncertain. And I want to try to clear that up for you. Where do you get your money safe? Imagine a common sense, simplistic, removing the emotion, removing the threat of taxation, inflation, because that's the big one we hear today. What happens when the dollar ceases to exist? Market risk and economic uncertainty. Now, there's some powerful people that have been doing what most of us would call professional investing for a long time that are making some pretty amazing, futuristic thoughts as it relates to what this market's going to do. And I'm going to teach you that as we get rolling here too. So you've got your note sections. I would almost write through notes and cross it out and put insights because, again, I want this to be an insight-based experience for you. Those of you that are live, those of you that are logged in and learning, this is the best way for you to retain this information. It's kind of like when you're in college and you would rewrite your notes before an exam. It's amazing how much better you performed on that exam. That is the concept of writing the key insights that you have. So let's get into some insights. You never judge a book by its cover, and a lot of people want to know, what in the world is this logo thing you have? And our logo is based on 4 targets. Now, I gave you 4 of the targets before: safety, protection, growth, and obviously the retirement insurance contract is going to be a key thing that we obviously talk about today. And I want you to remember this, the symbolic box. If there's nothing else you remember today, think about the box of how you came and learned outside of the box. But here's something else: live, learn, give, earn. Because I think it's important for us, and we'll get right into this, to help you understand what we would define as an asset. So if I ask you, what is an asset? Give me an idea of what comes to mind. First thing to mind, first person, what's an asset? Real estate, home. He said home. Well, that's amazing. I've never met you before today, right, Ray? Okay. I've never met Ray before, and the 2 answers, how predictable. The 2 first answers were real estate and home, and that is the first one. I can't control like the order of how these pop up. Those are magicians. I'm not a magician, okay? And here's the other thing I'll challenge you in today. Education, okay, without execution is entertainment. Okay? I can assure you I'm not here to entertain you today. I'm really here to educate you. You'll find our entire platform. In fact, Dr. Deming, the father of automotive innovation, said 85% of the result is determined in the first 15% of the process. So everything I'm taking you through today is a learning process by design. Doing this for almost 2 decades now, getting the opportunity to speak all over the country in front of some interesting groups, whether they were 2,400 people or 20 people. It's fascinating how there is a proper order of learning, right? You've heard the word system. Systems are key, right? So write down system, just straight down, S-Y-S-T-E-M for me. So write that down vertically, and out to the first S, put save yourself, time for the T, energy, and then money. Save yourself time, energy, and money. That's what system stands for. Okay? So let's get into this. What other assets, when I ask you about assets, what other things are assets? Stocks, cash, real estate, stocks, bonds. These are gold, okay? The precious metals, these are financial things, right? Now, is this thing going to blow up as I walk back here, guys, on the sound, or am I okay? Okay, good. You came in. I'm gonna pick on you. How do you pronounce your first name? Tejal. I pronounced it pretty good?
Pretty good.
Okay, good.
Close.
I'm trying not to embarrass you.
You were actually perfect.
Perfect. Oh, hey, that is amazing. Honey, my wife's here. She just said that was perfect. Thank you. You've made my day. Tejal, I'm going to reword the question, and let's watch how predictable. If I reword the question, what are the most important assets in this world to you?
To me, health.
Health?
Because if I have a good health, I can do anything. And the second one is life insurance, I think, because that's like...
That is a great answer. I think you felt compelled to say that.
No, it's
No,
a
I'm
leverage. I think it's a leverage because I want to pass on to the kids. And if I
Legacy.
have money right now, legacy, exactly.
Awesome. I'm going to teach you how what you'll learn today is a combination of lifestyle and legacy. Colleen, I know you well enough to know your answer to this question. The most important assets in this world to you?
Family.
Okay. Let's look. Most important assets are family and health. How predictable? What other assets are important? Values, well-being, friends, heritage, character, unique ability, talents, time. Your time. Time is of the essence, right? You invested time today out of your busy schedule, because everybody's busier than they've ever been before, right? And every day seems to be faster and faster and faster. So the whole world, right, is starving for time and attention. True? It's fascinating how we have less and less and less of time and attention, right? Think about it. We now think that it used to be the left lane used to be the fast lane when you would drive. Do you remember that? Because everybody texts in the left lane now. It's the slowest lane. And they're trying to make up time. So they figure if I'm in the left lane, right, I probably won't get ran over, so I have enough time to text, which seems to be pretty dangerous. And all kidding aside, I think it's very reckless that people do that. But it's fascinating how people are so starved for time and attention, they now have to text while they drive 65 miles an hour down a highway. This is dangerous. This, by almost indirect definition, is how the financial services got turned upside down after 9/11, because they gave all the time and attention back to you and I to be able to trade our own accounts and see how we could do. And as one of my clients said years ago, he said, I figured, what the heck, I might as well go ahead and take the wheel because I could lose the money just as easy as the other guy and I didn't have to pay me. Okay, what other, these being human or the living assets, what about wisdom assets, the learning assets, right? Knowledge, experience, education, reputation, systems, which I just taught you, methods, ideas, tradition, alliances. You're going to get to hear from the third largest money manager in the world, third largest insurance company in the world, who I've invited here to speak to you, and the 27th largest company in the entire world of all companies who implements this strategy likely and arguably better than anybody in the world, and they own PIMCO. Now that comes as a shock to a lot of people when I make that announcement saying, wait a second, an insurance company owns PIMCO? A lot of people, how many have heard of PIMCO? Right? Bill Gross, biggest bond fund in the world, largest options trader in the world. You'll see how this all connects. Out of curiosity, for those of you being honest, how many of you have learned more from your bad experiences than your good experiences? Yeah, it's amazing. Do you journal them? Do you video yourself about what the experience was, how you dealt with it, how you turned an obstacle into an opportunity? I challenge you on that, because that's hidden wealth. And then lastly, and this blows people's minds, so this is a little bit post-tax day, so hopefully it won't irritate people as badly as it does when I've taught this before in April, especially mid-April. An asset in the form of taxes. That's a painful word for a lot of us. Now, I know less than 1 out of 2 of us in this room pay taxes, and likely we don't pay our fair share. So I'm going to show you how to pay more tax today. I'm just kidding. I'll show you how to pay a lot less tax, if any tax, okay? But taxes. Now, we may not agree with how things happen with how our government spends our tax, right? Now, we had a road to get in here this morning, and you hear all those arguments, especially from one side of the view of politics, that, of course, it took a road and a bridge, and that's great. But taxes can actually be redirected. See, the thing I challenge you on about hidden wealth is, and a lot of people, I think this has come to the forefront, is they look at this and they say, wow, this is a lot more than something to supplement my income to be tax advantaged. It's the opportunity to take otherwise spendable taxes and create legacy, as Tajul said. It enables us to redirect that to causes that we believe in, right? Some really neat things that you can do. Tithing to your church, your charities, donating money to causes maybe that your children support, what have you. And that's the mindset, is how do we take what most of us who don't think outside the box, who pay, right? You're going to find out today that most people will pay it in now by the time that of what they would have paid into Social Security and what they're going to get out of Social Security, especially with this new formula that's been calculated, that you'll pay a third more in than you're ever going to get out. Okay? That's following the crowd. That's doing the herd mentality. Just keep doing what everybody else is doing. And why is it that you're going to pay back so much? Because of tax, right? Now think about it. Let's go put everything that's been taught to us in this box, load up our IRAs, load up our 401ks, to then at 70 and a half, we got to start doing what? Taking money out. Now, when we take that out, if we have fortunate enough to have a defined benefit pension or another income stream, which by taking that out becomes recognizable taxable income, what does that do to our Social Security? Yeah, it taxes it up to 85%. So think about it. Pour it away here, and it's really smart because, look, we're going to let you defer that all the way out to your 70 and a half, and then we'll let you take it out. We'll tell you what you can do with your life savings and when you can do it and how you can do it and how much the formula is. And oh, by the way, if it's over $44,000 you're filing jointly, you're going to owe us 85% tax on that money. I'm not sure what you were thinking about with what we told you before, but you just did too well. Because now you can draw more and you're going to have to pay more. So here's the concept. This is the hidden wealth system. I know this is a little philosophical to start the morning off, but I think it's imperative that you understand that money is just the byproduct, right? It's these other things, right? It's having choice and control. Choice and control. This was as good as our seats got, so I wish they were better than that, but this was our family's first Final Four experience, and just being there was really cool. That's a byproduct of the money. Hot air ballooning in Asheville, North Carolina, hanging out on Lake Jocassee. You're going to find there's a theme here. Our family loves the Carolinas, right? And it's about time. That's what it's about, okay? On top of that, I don't know how to fly fish. Clearly, our family didn't know how to fly fish because you can tell how we're dressed, but this is our youngest learning how to fly fish last summer. If anyone's familiar with Sliding Rock, this is a riot. There were more adults in this line than there were children. This is Big Rock. This is on Lake Kiwi. This is a major jump. The rock is a little inverted, so it doesn't look like he's going to go into the face of the rock at the conclusion. It's actually very safe. It's about 60 feet deep there. That was pretty cool. So Dad went first, and our oldest son went next. And then, can you picture, for those of you that have children or maybe have nieces, nephews, any kind of family, that there's like that one thing you did with those children that like the smile went on and didn't come off for like an extended period of time, because this is it for our two boys. We have two boys in junior high, Davis and Drake. And when we go to the lake, it's fascinating. My wife and I, it's the most peaceful experience we have is just towing these two boys around on these tubes, because like if there were a lot of bugs out there, they'd be eating bugs because all they're doing is smiling for like 3 straight hours. And that is hidden wealth. Hanging out, doing a little helicopter ride. I love coaching kids. I've coached kids since I was in high school. Nothing more, I would say, probably nothing more meaningful to me than actually coaching my own children. And this was to embarrass my kids. I told them this on Friday after I taught this Thursday. I said, Drake, I got you at the dance that Mom chaperoned by the girl that you like. Her name is Sam. He said, there's no way you showed that to a group of people. I said, oh, yeah, there is. In fact, I'll be showing them again on Saturday. So here you go. Here's Drake, our youngest, and Samantha. And then my favorite to just absolutely... what's the word? Embarrass my children to no end would be this past Easter out at the Peabody. My oldest son said, you may have done that slide with Drake and Samantha, but I know you didn't throw up the Easter bunny photo. I said, oh, Davis, boy, did I. And I'm going to, in fact, leave it up here, and I'm going to make an emphasis because this is being recorded. Davis, this is me telling this whole crowd right now, while you watch this at some point, this is you, my friend, and the Easter bunny, and everybody's watching. That's priceless. He's going to kill me. All right. Are you paying attention? So one of the things I want to take you through is another exercise to involve you, okay? And I'm thinking that we're back on the lights here, dear. We're going to throw a video up, correct, Devin? Just so I have it memorized. The light... This is good. This is my wife, Leanna. Would you give her a round of applause? She's like running. That was good. That was good. Here's what I want you to do. This is a little wacky because we did our best to download this and not break any copyright infringements or trademark infringements or what have you. But here's what I'm going to ask you to do. there's going to be this group of people in this circle that you're about to witness, and there's a group of them in white shirts, and they're going to be passing a basketball, okay? Now, no one has gotten this right. No one. And every time I presented this now, for going on maybe, I think, 15 of those 20 years, no one's ever gotten the correct answer to this exercise. All right? Now, that's not a strong lead-in for you, because you type A personalities are saying, oh, yeah? yeah, we'll see about that. The 15-year trend breaks today, right? Some of you are going, well, then why even try? Just be open-minded, suspend your disbelief. But I want you to count how many times the team in the white passes the basketball. That's what I want you to focus on, okay?
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count? But did you see the gorilla?
Did anybody see the gorilla? 2 people. There's a gorilla that's going to walk right in the middle of this and taunt you. And he's doing it right now. And he's exiting. Holy mackerel. Only 2 of you I watched said you saw the gorilla the first time. True? How many of you didn't see the gorilla till we played it back? You can hit the lights. Okay. Why did you not see the gorilla? Yeah. Hey. Hey. Put your money in a 401k. It's pre-tax. When you retire, it's likely you won't be in this tax bracket. You're going to be in this tax bracket. Right? What's the only time that that's ever going to come true? That you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire, likely 15, 20, 30, 35 years after you went to work? If you don't work, or you're broke, or you don't take any money out, right? Think about it. The only way that that strategy works, because that's the gorilla in the room, is the idea of that there was no such thing as inflation, right? Does anybody remember back in the mid-'70s when ERISA came out with the whole 401k IRA? It became the big thing. And that was the focus, right? Why was it the focus? Because there was this whole shift in the economy. Because big corporations said, wow, this thing called a defined benefit program is killing us. Actuarially, we're never going to be able to support paying somebody out these pension benefits. So we're going to have to put the coajitas on that now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to offer this thing called a defined contribution plan called the 401k. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to get Ray so jazzed on this thing because we're going to have him focus on the idea that we're going to make a match so he has less focus of the idea of that $6,000 a month pension we were going to pay him. Yeah, he'll forget about that because we're going to offer up some free money, right? Do you realize what a fraction of the overall cost it was to offer you and I free matching money as opposed to offering what everybody else got before you under the original plan? That's the gorilla in the room. That's where big corporate came in and said, boom, 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 we're looking right at you, and we're taking from here, and we're going to put it over here. And then what were a lot of those matches in? The match was mandatory to go into the company's stock. You didn't even have a say of where the match went. So all you were doing was building up their price-to-earning ratios so that they could be more profitable. Right? It was a great strategy for whom? The company. So think about that. Just think about that. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Abraham Lincoln. I wouldn't recommend the movie. I thought it was one of the most boring movies I've ever sat through. But evidently some people really enjoyed it. So if you did, that's great. I would never recommend that movie to my worst enemy. But I do like his quote. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So here is the simplicity of growing up in a family of school teachers and teaching by acronyms, and everything about the new book coming out in July is it's time. If you've heard me on the radio, you've read any of our books, you understand all we teach is that time stands for taxes are heading higher, right? Inflation is rising. The market, obviously, is risky. You're going to learn that. Obviously, the market can go up and down, and we all know that all too well. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2008. and then economic uncertainty. And it's sad to say this to you, but as I thought about, what are the week's most recent pressing economic uncertainty issues? And I thought, my gosh, there's not enough time for me to come in and talk to you about all the economic uncertainty that's in our economy today. In fact, one of our coaches and strategic coach says, it's amazing. You can take everybody's bad news and make it their good news. It's just our media does such a good job of just depressing us, it seems, every time we turn on the TV or read a newspaper article. But I've got enough radio content for the next 10 years by just what happened last week, right? Boy, if you're patriotic, and that's in the name of your company, I'd probably get that out of there, unless you like an audit by the Internal Revenue Service, right? Or, Fast and Furious is back into the marketplace in discussion. Benghazi, which is just an absolute disgrace. And isn't it amazing how we just sit back? We don't. More than likely, you here have very similar shared views and opinions, not assuming it's all in line with ours, but probably more so than a lot of people that would never. In fact, we had one person who heard our show one time call up and say, I can't believe you guys are teaching tax evasion. Tax evasion. I said, no, we're teaching tax advantageous strategies where people don't have to pay tax on their growth, they don't have to pay tax on their access, and then they can transfer all that money completely tax-free to their family. That's tax-free planning. That's not tax evasion. She said, no, it still seems like tax evasion. I said, do you know the difference between tax-free and tax evasion? She said, no. I said, 20 years. This is legal. You're going to learn that this is legal, so don't worry about that. Okay? Now, here's where the shift took place. This is where the game has changed. All right? And some of these things are such little nuances of the insights I'm trying to teach you that we find that taking the complex and making it simple is a lot better received, right? This is how simple it is in what I'm teaching you today, that if you're a sports person, you get the idea of a first half in football and a second half in football, right? And the first half of the game, which has completely changed, was under what I taught you called ERISA, right? So this 401k IRA came out in the mid-'70s, and what happened? Oh my gosh, we can't see it here, but this is where 99% of people that tell you that they are financial advisors, this is where they roost, okay? And here's what they teach you and I. Put money away pre-tax, right? So that it grows tax deferred, and then when we take it out, we'll be in a lower tax bracket. The idea of retiring broke is not a financial plan, okay? Tax deferral, just defer it till you're 70 and a half, and then you can take it out. What a benefit. Market timing. This is great. Here's what you could do. Just put this money away in these things called mutual funds that have been around since 1924, and just let your money sit there, and it'll be okay. Is it okay? No, it's not okay. What happened? 9/11 happened, right? The whole world woke up and said, you know what? The things that seem safe and secure, not so secure and safe anymore, right? So what happened is, here's Wall Street. How many times did the team in the white shirts bounce the ball? Here's what we'll do. Hey, the public's lost trust in us, and they've lost a lot of confidence in us. And so here's what we'll do. Let's create the ability to charge less, but on a higher volume of trading. And if anybody's a trader in here, and a lot of our clients are, okay, has trading volume picked up in the last 10 years? Oh my gosh, that's the only thing that's moving the market right now. Greed and need. That's it. Two things are moving the market right now, greed and need, right? What's the need? Mom and Pa Kettle, who swore off the stock market, are saying, I can't live on 20 basis points at the bank, and the Fed has said they're going to artificially keep rates low for the next 2-3 years, who knows how long, right? Arguably, I guess there could be a federal funds rate less than zero, and if there's any idiot out there that can create it, it would be our government, right? That's harsh. This is live on the internet, so sorry, sometimes the truth hurts, right? So what happened? They gave you and I all the tools. And they said, here's what we'll do. They don't trust us anyway. Let's let them trade their own account, and we'll make more than we would have if we put their assets under management. And that's exactly what people did. And if I gave you that story once I heard from a client over the last 10 years, I've heard it 1,000 times. Chuck, I figured, what the heck? I might as well take the wheel back or the reins back because I could lose money just as easy as this other guy who I was paying. Right? I'm going to teach you today, you don't have to lose money. There's ways to index by linking to the market, not investing directly in it. And am I saying that for all your money? Heavens no. It's not ever putting your eggs in one basket, but it's the eggs that you've got to protect. So the second half of the game, which is where an authorized wealth architect roosts, okay, someone who specializes in retirement planning, retirement being pre-retirement and post-retirement, is what's your tax exit strategy? Because I've probably looked at thousands of financial profiles over the years, and I've never seen one person come to me and say, yeah, we got a tax exit strategy in my original plan. Yeah, we have an inflation impact plan built in. I understand the cost of living is doubling about every 12 to 15 years. I've accounted for that. Yeah, I've got a lifetime income solution. And oh, absolutely, the government's not going to touch my money when I die. All of that's going to go to my children, my church, and my charity. Not one. And I've sat with some pretty interesting people, professional athletes, former professional athletes. You think all these people have great retirement plans? Ironically, the more successful the person, the less of a plan they have. It's the truth. Joe Robbie, right? That name's familiar in the state of Florida. Why did Joe Robbie have to sell the team? Death tax. And guess what? The tax was so bad that that's why they had to turn around and sell the stadium. Now, wouldn't you have thought he would have had wise counsel? No, not wise counsel. Lost it all. And what, we got like professional recording artists, I think, that own the Miami Dolphins right now or something. I'm not sure. So people are experiencing anxiety. So all the time we hear, who are these people, Chuck? Who are your clients? And the good news is, usually I always get maybe a handful of clients that will come out to these events when we teach once or twice a year, and it's always a really sound review. So Sonny's a client, Margot's here as a client, Marty's here. I won't ask you to identify yourself or raise your hand. I don't want you to be tackled at the end of this. Just kidding. But sincerely, Sonny has offered, if people have questions, don't take our word for it. Go ask people that we've helped that have absolutely not paid tax on the money when it's grown and not been exposed to the market downturns. That's going to be an important thing. That's why we played for you as we started this, people that just sat right where you were at some point, and that was their feedback. That's what they've learned. But here's how people came to us. These are the top three things. If you remember the old Family Feud show, number one was losing to taxes. So most of our clients, if not all of them, are not real keen in paying any more of what they have to pay in tax because they really feel they're paying more than their fair share. Does anybody here feel like you're just not quite paying enough in taxation? If you'd like to pay a little more tax, I would be happy to talk to you, and maybe we could offset some of the other people that think they're paying too much. Okay? Number two, losing money. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired of losing money, right? And what's the uncertainty? The uncertainty is where we are today. Everything, I pulled up something I got from one of the internet marketers, and it said, why the Dow Jones is going to 60,000. Did anybody else get that email this morning? Why the Dow is going to 60,000. Now, here's the absolute gut truth of what's going on, okay? You've got companies, unlike our government, that have to tighten their belt when the economy hits hard times. So they did what? They innovated. They created better systems, saving themselves time, energy, and money, right? And it's amazing how they figured out you can get a lot more, right, by putting good resources in, right? You put enough wood in the fire, you get a bigger blaze. And that's what they did, right? Well, that's thrown off a tremendous amount of cash on their balance sheet. So what are they doing with that cash? They're buying their own stock back. What's that doing to their stock? Enables them to raise their dividends. They look out at Ma and Pa Kettle and they say, these people are making nothing on their money. I had a client in the other day who had a brokerage money market who was getting paid 20 basis points, but the fee on the money market account was 47 basis points. She was actually paying them to keep her money there. Right? This is how bad this is. So they said, here's what we'll do. We'll make all the craze around dividend and higher dividend yielding stocks, and then Ma and Pa, because this is how it's pitched to us, right? Whether the price appreciates or not, look at the sound dividend that you're going to get, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with dividend paying stocks, but what are Ma and Pa doing? They're saying, let's take risk and let's go ahead and we'll invest to save. Now, that's like doubling down on blackjack because you're not winning very well, right? That's risky. That's what caused the problems in all the other bubbles before. So do you know what's going on out there today? People are starting to margin their accounts worse than they margined their accounts in any other time in history. Margin, you know what that means? That's where you can borrow up to like 70 to 90% of your positions in your equities and use the house's money to go buy more. That's not good. Subprime mortgages, hot and heavy. All of that's coming back, right? The new craze is real estate. Get into real estate. Get into high dividend yielding stocks. Be careful. Be careful. Feeling that it's too late. Our median age client is 66. So I love this one. We always ask clients when they come in and meet with us to do a wealth building blueprint meeting. This is where we get an idea of what they have, what they want it to do, and how far it's going to go so they can make good educated decisions for themselves. And one of the key questions we ask is, several people see themselves, and I'm going to butcher this, so I should have probably brought it up here, but several people see themselves as living to age 100. Do you see yourself to be one of them? 1 is the low end of that scale that you can circle and that belief, and 5 is the high end. I'm going to tell you that 90% of the people we meet with circle a 4 or 5 to believe that they're going to be likely, if not close, exceed becoming a centenarian. Okay? So people are living longer and longer. So if you're in your 60s, our oldest client's 83, if you're curious. Our youngest client was 6, who was my son, my youngest son at the time. Okay? Great strategy for your kids, I can tell you that, especially if you want to teach them from the ground up about how to use other people's money to make more money for them. But neat to think that someone in their 60s likely could live another 3+ decades, that it's not too late. What's too late is the idea of giving up. Okay? Now, what did this do? What did it enable their money to do? Top 3 answers. Grow, access, and transfer their money tax-free. Enable them to never suffer market losses again on that amount of money, and then it enabled them to move money. Now, this is the big one, because when we called a lot of you and asked you what's your main reason to come, what's your greatest insight, and you're going to see that we ask you a lot of questions. They said, I heard you say that I could get my money out of my IRAs and my 401ks without me paying the tax out of my pocket. Did anyone else hear us talk about that before? Okay. Is anyone else interested in that, just out of curiosity? Okay. Wow. Let's make sure we keep the coffee coming that's fresh. You're not going to insult me. Feel free to grab some coffee, put some high octane in, and we'll keep rolling here. This is a big deal. The average client that comes to us, I would tell you, has at least 90% of their money in one of these vehicles right here. And you know what this vehicle is? It's a ticking tax time bomb I write about in my books. This thing was never designed for you. It was designed for big corporations, and it was designed for the government. You'll see that. Jack Bogle, who was on, right, the creator of the Index Mutual Fund, he would tell you that the industry used to have some integrity. The industry used to be about how can you make sure you get the returns, okay? Do you realize now in the average mutual fund, the house keeps 70% of your return, you see 30% of it. And if you don't want to believe me on that, go see his documentary he did back on April 26, and he lays the whole thing out. And this guy's been around for a long, long time. Vanguard, you've heard of Vanguard, the indexed mutual fund, the index S&P 500. I'm not pitching them, just making sure that you're aware. And here's the big one. In that same article and his interview that you'll see in a moment, guess how many predictions he's made that we'll lose 50% in the next decade? He believes at least 50% declines in the next 10 years. This guy, who's been around longer than dirt, okay, in the market, knows the market. So what did the system provide for those that have implemented? Number one answer, never outlive their money. The number one fear for people today across the country is running out of money before they run out of life, or having to dissipate the preferred lifestyle that they had, that they've worked so hard for, to not have to take a lesser lifestyle into retirement. Secondly, secure a safe, worry-free retirement. I got to tell you, we interviewed Margot as she got here, and one of the things we'd love to do is for those of you that aren't shy of camera, is just to give us your 2 cents that have never met us before until today, and on your way out, it'd be great to just get your 2 cents on, what did you learn today, what was your insight. But the big one is the idea of not having to wake up and see how the Dow futures opened, not have to be on vacation and have the iPhone in this pocket and the BlackBerry in this pocket and Bloomberg on the TV at 6 in the morning, all right? This is just a simple, imagine, folks, the simplicity of not having to worry about what the market does every single day and actually be retired, actually go to work and work on the systems being likely. Your best investment is your business. Not every day. Some days it feels like our worst investment, right? Those of us that are self-employed some days. But it's our best investment, and there's no time. You could do this 24/7 and never beat the index. So So it's fascinating how we as just kind of the perseverance, American dream, just believe that, but this time it's going to be different. This time I'm going to make 399% or whatever the internet marketer had promoted in the email today. And I think, wow, it is amazing how predictable we are. Denmark elephant gray. And lastly, and this is a big one, leave a tax-free legacy. Now, I'm not saying dump money into your children's laps. I think that's the greatest disservice that you could do to your family. In fact, I've sat with people that have successfully taken their company public, sold their company. I remember this gentleman saying to me, he said, Chuck, I feel like I got one more chance. I said, what's that? He said, well, I successfully sold my company as an IPO and made millions. And here's the mistake I made. My 3 sons have never wanted for anything in their entire life, and they're a disaster. It's a disaster. I built and bought their homes. I bought their cars. I put all their kids through college. They didn't need for one single thing, and it's the biggest mistake I've ever made in my entire life. So here's what I want to do, and this is kind of a cool thing that you'll learn today, is that what you can then transfer from this strategy is never having you have to be caused to skimp on how you live your lifestyle. The ability to then live life and then transfer legacy to the next generation, or be it your church or your charities or whatever it is you believe in. It's a really neat strategy to be able to do that and have everything defined the way you want things played out, so that whether it's when this takes place after a graduation, then that child in the family is given something from that legacy, or when someone earns their bachelor's degree, their graduate degree, or whatever you put as your intentionality of that trust. And I'm not giving you legal advice, I'm just giving you insights of how I and for several other families we've helped have strategized this. Is just a really cool thing to know that some bozo's not going to get your money and go spend $58 million of it at a Department of Justice conference. Because that's real. I mean, when we start trading, that's like driving 5 miles to save a penny on gas, right? Common sense isn't so common anymore. And so this is common sense, right? Have choice and control. Back to that hidden wealth, 4 targets, right? Choice and control, very, very important. So this was an article I did for Forbes and Yahoo Finance about 3.5 years ago, and I'm going to tie this all together. So one of the things we always ask people, what is your preferred style of learning? So I'm going to ask you here in just a second, as a show of hands, I'm going to give you 2 descriptors. There's those of us that just want to know what time it is, and then there's those of us that want to know how the actual watch, the crystal that was placed in that watch, how it was made, okay? So as a show of hands, how many want to just know what time it is? Oh, no. We got a lot of engineers in the room, don't we? How many of you want to know how the watch was made? Okay, here's the good, the bad of that. We've structured this to know that it's very common. My wife and I mentor pre-married couples in our church, and it's fascinating. I think this is part of God's sense of humor. We marry the opposite, and we're friends with the same, okay? Now, if you're different from that, we definitely want to interview you, because you're like the world's greatest couple if you came here and you're the exact same. But likely and predictably, you're the opposite. So here's the challenge that we have, Ray. We're never going to make both of you happy. So what we're going to do is hit high concept, which is going to be this, and then just be open-minded, right? It's like eating an orange. How many people enjoy the rind of the orange, just out of curiosity? All right, my oldest son eats the rind of lemons. He did it at dinner last night. So there are those kind of people out there. Davis, I'm talking about you again. Okay, so here's the deal. Most of us don't like, right? We don't like until we get to the center part, but we got to peel those layers back to get to the part that you want, that you enjoy. This is going to be the presentation as I take you through today. We've got to go high concept and get through the rind, and then we'll get to the sweet part. We'll get to the part to show you exactly. You'll leave here knowing exactly how the insurance company does it. You want to know how I know that? Because we invited the 27th largest company in the world here, who does more of this than anybody else in this strategy than any other insurance company in the world here, to teach you on top of what I'm going to teach you, so I know I can give you that credibility. You will not leave here and not know how this works. Now, here's the fascinating part. You're going to learn that in about 20 minutes. And you're like, what? This strategy, because we get it all the time. How do you guys promise that you can't lose? Surely you don't have some staff of stock pickers that can do this. Again, it's the elephant in the room. It's the gorilla in the room. We're just using a different vehicle, okay? But conceptually, what I want to teach you is how we arrive at plan design. Because a lot of you likely came in here thinking, okay, it's going to be one of those deals where you're going to say, well, you know, blah, 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 why don't you just put all your money here? No. Nope. We believe in diversification. We believe in gold, someone had said. We believe in real estate, as somebody said. We'll walk you through that. But you'll see there's a system of organizing that will pay huge in comparison to departmentalizing your money, right? And this is how money is departmentalized. This is the only thing Dave Ramsey and I have ever agreed on. You should have cash reserves, okay? Dave's big in our church. I think he serves a great purpose. But here's the gorilla in the room. You're not Dave Ramsey's client. Dave Ramsey's talking to people that are living on beans and rice, okay? There's nothing wrong with living on beans and rice. That's just not somebody that comes to us with a problem about how much money they've accumulated in their IRAs and their 401ks. They don't have the same problems. So the thing I always challenge people on is, I don't have an endorsed local provider. Nobody pays for my education. I pay for my education through the airwaves. I pay for this. Nobody sponsored me. I don't ask for money for the insurance companies. I put this on, right? So this idea, when you hear endorsed local provider, that should make your radar go up way big, because the person who gets the endorsement is paying to get the endorsement. I don't pay Ron to come up here and say what he said. And I'm passionate about making sure that you see my passion, because it's really reckless to tell you to buy term and invest the difference, okay, and make 12% average on your mutual funds. Has anybody here consistently averaged 12% on their mutual funds? No. And no one I've ever asked that question of has ever raised their hand, okay? But what I will agree with is there's a place to have cash reserves. So I'm not trying, I think Dave Ramsey serves a huge purpose, a positive purpose, but I just want to put it in perspective. You're not his audience. Now, society does an amazing job going over here to the world of growth and saying, look, once you've got your cash reserves, here's the deal. Here's the real deal. You're going to have to risk it all to get any respectable rate of return. Now, the only thing I've seen that's marketed better than through our media about you and I, from the little baby that's in the crib, right, the E-Trade baby, to the guy in the helicopter that shows you that you could be on top of the world too if you just knew how to trade on the Scottrade platform. Politics is the only thing I've seen marketed better through the media than money management. In fact, if you look at the budgets, it's likely number 1 and 2. So it's amazing how this gets piped into our brains, right, to focus on the basketballs as opposed to the big gorilla that was right there. So what we teach is, how do you create a hybrid, okay, of not only having safety and growth, but having security? Because that's what people are after. They want their money secure, right? And this is what we've trademarked as the personal protected pension plan. That's all it is. That's what people wanted when they went to work for big companies, right? We wanted the ability to put our time in and know that we could live and treat and have our families with a cost of living adjustment in that pension, that we'd be able to maintain our lifestyle throughout our entire life, even if we lived to be 100. True? But that all changed. And as a result of that, if it's to be, it's up to me. We've got to design that again. That's why we call it the Personal Protected Pension Plan. So watch how it works. We have the best of this world, right? You've always heard that saying, the best of both worlds. We've got the best of the world of principal protection. I would argue that depending on your bank, you may not have as much principal protection as you think you have, okay? But we like the element of knowing, we hate the yield, but we like the idea that we could know we could go down and clean our account out the next day if we didn't like the bank choices. But we also like the idea of participating, this is key, when things go up, not participate when things go down. And that's the thing you're going to see today. And if you want to write it down, it'll be a good reticular activator. It's called lock in and reset. Lock in and reset. But here's the teaching point. Of these 3 worlds, there's only one that has a byproduct. That's the world of security, which comes along with the world of protection. Now, you're going to learn today, because I get to teach this part, nobody plans on dying early. Nobody ever plans on getting sick. Nobody ever plans on getting injured. But boy, when it happens, it throws everything off, right? You didn't get to meet Josh. Josh served 2 tours with National Life. I'm proud of him, not just for what he's done to serve our country, but he said, Chuck, I can speak to your group on Thursday, but my grandmother's birthday, I think it was, what was her, Kirk, her 98th birthday or something? What is it? 70th. Oh, only 70th. He's a young man. 98's young too. Today. So he said, I can't be there today. I said, you know what? That's the way it should be. That's where you should be, is with your grandmother celebrating her birthday. So I'm going to teach you today that nobody ever plans on dying too early, but I'm going to show you some really neat things about what I'm showing you now is built into the retirement insurance contract. If you got sick, you got injured, that's built in if that's of importance to you. And watch what happens, because this is key. Once we know someone has the amount of cash reserves that they're comfortable with, okay, very important, we then determine, make sure you hear it, the least amount of assets needed to build their own personal protected pension plan that will be a future inflation-adjusted income source for life. And then whatever's not needed, go be as aggressive as you want over here into the what I call the Wall Street casino. Right? Feel more confident if you trade an account to be more aggressive maybe in your allocation. But stop seeing money in departments. These all have something to do with one another. Somebody said to me the other day, they said, you know what I really like about what you teach is that you take a holistic approach to what's going on with money. Because true or false, whatever happens here has an impact here. Whatever happens here has an impact here. I told you need and greed, right? Right now, need is saying, we can't live on this, so let's skip over here and go for it. And when we get enough of our money back, we'll put it back over here. That is a bad plan, and that's what's driving this market. And the greed of it is Wall Street is jumping all over it, right? You'd be crazy to not jump on the Dow that's going to go to 60,000. You know what? I think at some point the Dow will get to 60,000. But it's going to be a pretty rocky road to get there. And at the end of the day, you realize that even by getting there at 60,000, if in fact that comes during our lifetime, you could have still not made any money. You say, well, how can that be true? Well, think about it. In 2008, when the market, the S&P lost on average basically 40%. Think about that. The S&P went from 1,100 to 650. Okay? You've heard, probably have heard it worn out, the lost decade, right? That's because, I'll show you in a minute, how people 10 years ago had 100,000, and 10 years later, they barely have the same 100,000. Fees, taxes, but mainly market volatility. So it's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? And that's going to be that lock-in and reset. So by writing that down, it'll be important. But here's the deal. You didn't hear me say investment. This is not an investment, what I'm teaching today. It's a savings vehicle. You can't call an insurance contract an investment. Okay? It's a special design contract. Now, insurance, ironically enough, is the only asset class in all four of these worlds. Fixed annuities are nothing more than a CD at an insurance company. Fixed index, this is not an annuity. I'm just giving you an example of the type of insurance products inside of these different worlds. A fixed indexed annuity. Okay? A variable annuity, life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance. Now, fascinating that $1 here will never be worth more than $1. $1 here, if it's in an IRA, isn't even worth $1. And here's some startling stats for you. You may want to write down. 40% of Americans have saved zero for their retirement. 4 out of 10, nothing. That's harsh. Now, listen to this. The average person in their 50s, from 50 to 59, has saved, this is just a new Wells Fargo report out, you can quote me, $29,000 for retirement. 29, sorry, I still had the zero up. 29,000. That's going to be a tough way to go, okay? Now, it's the efficient use of your money over the return of money. So watch. Once this is established, which is what sets this up properly, that's people all the time say, well, what's the downside to what you teach? Being overly aggressive, not keeping enough money on the sidelines so you have liquidity, right? Don't overcommit to something. That's why we try to then determine what are the least amount of the other savings that you have that would be appropriate for compliance, right, and suitability to put here into a special designed retirement insurance contract. We're not using whole life. We're using what's called indexed universal life with a very unique design. There's a lot of, the one that scares me, just came out yesterday, is There was $1.2 billion that went in the strategy that I'm teaching you today just in 2012. $1.2 billion, okay? $768 million the year before. It's been almost doubling every single year, okay? Because people are getting more and more educated. The gorilla in the room is being pointed out to them, and they're not getting distracted by the media of just watching how many times somebody's passing the ball in front of you, right? Great analogy. I'll wear it out. Now, think about this. I got an email yesterday, and Paul likely will speak on this in a moment, that there's 15 new carriers. There's about 994 insurance companies in the United States. 15 new carriers coming into 2013 that are going out to their field force and saying, go out and sell this. I got an email yesterday. I should have brought it to throw it up here for you. It said 6 mouse clicks to index universal life sales. Now, this is really disheartening because the reality is most people have no idea how this works. You're actually going to leave here today to just really prompt up your confidence today of how well you're going to know how this watch is made. You're going to know 100% more, likely in many cases, than the people that are selling what I'm showing you today. You'll know it leaving here today. Now, think about how dangerous that is, right? We have CPAs that'll bring us these cases and they'll say, I don't think what you teach, I don't think this doesn't look like the same thing that you guys, and you build it for lifetime income. This looks like someone was trying to sell somebody an insurance policy. And we can look at that in 2 minutes and say, you know what, this wasn't designed for what we teach. Well, it's reckless out there, folks, I can tell you. I've got people, we've tried to train advisors on this for over a decade now, and most of them, for 2 reasons, don't do this. Number one, they have no money. Okay? Here's the sad reality of where we are in this world financially. Most financial advisors have no money. And it's sad to think that they're the ones giving all of us the advice. Have you ever stopped to think about that? I had a client say to me, she goes, the one thing that resonated with me that you taught was you should inspect what you expect. And I never thought twice about asking the person who I entrusted my money with to find out, did they buy the same things that they sell me? Are they in the same positions? Do they even have any money? Well, it should tell you that if almost in 3,000 financial advisors in a decade, there's maybe a handful of us in the entire country that specialize in this, it's because most of them, because it's a prerequisite, you have to be willing to open your own plan to be your own first client. Well, if you don't have any money, you can't qualify. That's why most people don't do this. And second reason, so you're aware, which is very, very painful to the people likely watching this as competitors in the industry, but it's the truth, and the truth will set you free, is that they'll take about a 75% pay cut to teach you to do it the way that I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, do we make a good living doing it? Yes, we do. We do, but it's very easy to shave in the morning when you serve the client before you serve yourself, and that's the thing people are far worn out with, is they're tired of making somebody else money and not making any money for themselves. True? That's what I'm going to teach you. So don't leave here thinking, well, he said put all my money here. No way. It's not suitable. We don't have issues. We don't want issues. We want the least amount of money needed in order to make your money go as far as it can go. Now watch this, though. When we borrow $1, okay, dollars, only $1, dollar in an IRA or less than $1, whatever it is, $1 here, likely, if you're in your 60s, has to be worth at least $3 in value. Why? Because insurance, the value of the coverage, has to be greater than the asset that it's covering. That's why it has a different tax treatment, right? That's why this one's taxed as earned, this one's tax deferred, if it's in an IRA. Very different. I'll teach you that in just a second. Now, watch. Do I believe in gold? Yes. My uncle's a world-renowned gold and silver coin collector. I don't pay markup. But when I put my money here, I borrow the insurance company's money to go buy my gold. I'm not going to use right? If I take my money from here to go buy gold, I lost what wasn't getting paid me anything in this one. I would lose what I might have earned here while I was trying to earn money over here. This is the gorilla in the room. Make sure you don't miss this. Here, I'm still earning the safe indexing solution crediting rate of return while I have money from the insurance company making money on gold if you bought it right, or real estate if you bought it right, or trade your options account at Scottrade or wherever it may be to do it right. See, I used to think, well, I've got this here, I've got this here, I've got this here, right? Don't see it that way anymore. This enables you to use the same dollar to do more than one job. Why? Well, if you die early, you're protected. Your family is. If you get sick, you can accelerate the death benefit and use up to 2% of the death benefit every month to go towards a chronic illness like a long-term care need. If you're disabled, maybe there's a critical illness, you had a heart attack, you had a stroke, right? This way, you're not having to spend these monies down or those monies down. You're spending the insurance company's money down. I said this the other night, and no one laughed. I hope you find it more humorous. How many of you feel like you're insurance poor? Isn't it time we start spending some of the insurance company's money? Gosh, this is a tough group. At death. Great question. And unless it's designed right, or if it's designed right, I should say, you're not on an obligation of paying a principal payment or an interest payment. It's deducted at death. Powerful. Because I've never had a client come into our offices or find us from another state and say, boy, I'd really like to buy a lot of insurance. Can you talk to me about that? No. How do you save me from tax? How do you prevent my money from losing to inflation? How do you protect it from the market? How do I use this to put my daughter through dental school, put my son through law school? See, this is a great college funding tool. It's a great strategy to buy and sell real estate. We have real estate investors. We have stock investors. It's just a really neat way, if you can see it more holistically, that this is the overall allocation, and each one of these things has an impact on the other. But the only vehicle that you'll learn today that allows you to have the same dollar do more than one job is these boring old negative context insurance companies. So it's not all your eggs in one basket, but it's the right eggs in the right basket first. So the least that's needed here